Welcome back, guys. Today we are working on the K-swap Civic. How to K-swap your Civic for under $1,000. So first we gotta move the CRX out of the way, grab the K-swap Civic and bring it in here, and we gotta start working on the motor mount. In the meantime, I'll show you this little V18 V1 we're building for the Acura. It's gonna have the same pistons and rods from the old motor. Everything from the old motor, just got a different block that had tighter bores and some new rings and new bearings, and then slap everything back together. The old block did have an epoxy block guard, so I am testing out my own epoxy. This is supposed to be better than the epoxy you can get from the other guys. So hopefully this epoxy ends up being a lot just better, and then I'll be able to put this on the market for you guys. But letting that dry, so let's go ahead and get that K-swap Civic pulled in. All right, guys, here we have it. She's been sitting for a while, so it's a little bit dusty, but it's all there. I probably want to put a new something right there, that way we don't get no dirt in the motor. Anyways, long story short, as you guys seen in the last video, if you haven't, go back and check out the old videos. I made up this mount right here. This is like a $60 eBay motor mount kit that I got, and you definitely need it because it gives you all these aluminum pieces, and it gives you this piece right here on the side. That one is what you need, okay? And then from there, once you have these aluminum blocks and then that little adapter piece back there, so that you can go from those 3 bolts to this, right? You need all that. So once you have that, you can start building this bracket and that bracket. This bracket ended up having to be fully custom made, basically, from the mount, from the engine to the mount. As you've seen, it wasn't nothing too crazy. I just kind of built up this little strap, cut it out with arc joint, built up a base plate, bent that, cut it out. Long story short, the back one, I actually found out I'm actually going to be able to reuse the old mount and basically cut it and weld to that and attach to this plate that I'm been designing right here. Okay, let me show you what I'm talking about. All right, so this right here is the back motor mount that you're gonna get. Let me go over this again. This is only if you have a K24 transmission. If you have a K20 transmission, everything should be good to go, right? So these mounts on eBay, the cheap ones, they fit K20s. They haven't came up with a K24 mount set. That could change any day. So this video was made in December of 2024. So if it's after that and they have mounts now, my apologies. If you have a K20 mount set, this is how you're gonna modify it, right? So this is that back mount. As you kind of can probably already tell what I'm thinking is when this is right there, okay, and it's sitting on there, it's basically gonna be able to be cut right around here and welded to that plate that I just fabbed up. So let me show you. So like I said, that thing would normally attach here and come on attached to the motor and tranny. I'm gonna cut it right about there, make this plate, have some spacers on it, bolt that plate up, bolt up that mount, and then attach that mount to this plate. This plate's gonna be made of steel, and that will be that back mount right there. And it'll have 3 bolts, 1 in the engine, 2 in the transmission. So it should be strong, because I know sometimes people break that back mount. That's normally on the all-wheel drive stuff, though. This is just a front-wheel drive, so I don't think it'll break. So we're gonna go ahead and start working on that plate, and then once we get the plate made, we're gonna cut that mount, and then we're gonna weld everything together and make that back mount. All right, so I just got this plate that I made the other mounts out of. You can see there right here. So this is that back plate. I just traced it out. This hole is actually in the wrong spot, so I just marked it where it's supposed to be. So that's what we need right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab the arc joint out from underneath, set it up right here. We'll cut that out, and then hopefully it fits first try, and then we can start cutting up the other piece. Check out this K24 with a K20 head I just got done building for one of my good customers. It's got a K24A bottom end, scat rods, nip-on pistons. It's got the K20 Z3 head. It's got the K24 cams, the RBC cam gear, brand new everything, rod bearings, head gasket, pistons, rods, everything's brand new. So this thing's pretty sweet. It's gonna go in his Civic SI. So just want to show you guys that thing real quick. So actually, I did want to tell you guys that we didn't hit the likes on the other videos, but that doesn't mean in the future they won't hit that many likes. Pretty confident they will. So we're gonna do the VTEC killer setup again. If we hit the amount of likes on that other video, the first video, you guys want to go back and like that video, we will still turbo this thing and give it away. It's just up in the air. I don't want to do all that if there's not going to be anybody interested in it. But long story short, we have a whole entire K24A2 or a K24A head, and we have the K20 cams that came out of that head because it has the K24 cams now. Those are all potentially, the head could go on there, but I think I want to show you guys how to just put the cams in, because that is the most budget way to make power on that. And I think it'll just have a really cool sounding idle, and it's less work. You don't have to take the head off, do the, any of that. So I do have the cams. They are right there. So we have that option, which for sure we're going to at least do the cams. If not, we might end up doing the head and the cams. I also have the intake manifold. It's right there. So we have a bigger intake manifold now. So appreciate you guys, everybody that liked that last video. Definitely don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because we're not going to stop on this car. So let's go ahead and get that motor mount cut out and build this back mount so we can drive this thing. All right, guys, I got everything set up right here. Just measured out the holes there, make them 14 millimeters. And then I got the shape right there. So we're gonna go ahead and put the torch attachment on, and then we're gonna let the old girl rip, and hopefully it comes out good. And that's where we're at. So let's get her done. All right, that was not even close to ideal. That was honestly, that may have been the worst part I've ever cut out on the arc joint. I don't know what happened there, but I was playing with some settings. It's been like a couple months since I used this thing. I haven't even used it since I smashed my head. So anyways, it took me a few tries there. Every time it would cut this hole, it would come over here and it would cut that hole, and then the torch would stay on its way over here. I'm like, what are you doing? And then right here, this hole's kind of close to the edge right there, but I think it has to be like that anyways. But regardless, we got it cut out. Yeah, it wasn't ideal, but we got the plate cut out. It is right here, so we'll be able to make something out of this little piece right here. So now we're gonna go ahead and get this thing cleaned up, bolted up, and then we'll cut that mount, and then we'll start fitting it and make it fit. All right, guys, it is a little bit later, and sun has went down. I went ahead and bolted on the plate right here on the back, so it ended up coming out perfectly. I did have to put a little washer between the plate and the motor to get it to sit flat, because there's a little lip right there. Nothing crazy at all. Got that sitting flat on there. Just measured it out from that hole to the plate. It was 5 1/4 inches. So what I did is I went right here, and we are 5 1/4 inches is right about, because this hole actually is oblong so that you could have a little adjustment. So it's looking like it's somewhere on the edge of this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make it a little bit longer, and then I'm gonna cut it, and then I'm gonna see how it fits in there. I'm gonna kind of end up going like, I think I'm just gonna try to cut it like that and then see what it looks like. All right, you guys, so this is actually gonna come out really well. So this thing was just like that. Actually, I think it was like that. And then that piece was right there, right? So I cut that off like I showed you guys. And then when I cut that off, it was just this piece. So then I cut that piece off. So now I just made a little bit of a groove there so that when I weld it, a little bit of a taper so that when I weld it, it gets better penetration. But now I'm gonna show you, this thing will fit perfectly back here. Let me show you. So I just gotta go like this, and all right, so I just put the bolts in it. And if you look, it's perfectly, pull it forward, it touches that thing perfectly. See? Boom, perfect. So now I just gotta tack weld it on there, and then take it off and fully weld it, and then we'll be good to go. So I'll give you another little, see? Right up to the back of that plate. Let me see if I can get a better shot of that. See? 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 Now I just gotta weld that to the plate with a tack weld, and then I'll pull it out of there, and then I'll fully weld it, and then I'll fully weld this one, and then I'll brace them both up, and then we'll be good to go. All right, guys, I just tack welded that thing in there, and just something to look out for. I just didn't even think about it the first time I tack welded it in, and then when I tack welded in, all the gap was on this side and not on that side. And just try to get the gap even when you tack weld it. That way, when you pull it out, you know, everything bolts together well, right? Like there's a little bit of gap here, a little bit of gap there. Make sure you don't have all the gap on one side, because then that could just, you know, if you're building the kit, you want to do the best you can. Anyway, so I tack welded on the side, tack welded right there on the two tops. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull that thing out, and then weld it all the way up, and then we're good to go. So look, if you make sure all your bolts can spin when you have this thing in there. See, all my bolts can still spin. I have the bottom one tight, but you want to make sure that these ones still have room. See, that one's touching, but just barely. So I mean, it's not touching, but if I rattle it, move it side to side, I can get it to touch. That's what I mean. So it's a little bit of a tight fit, but it'll still work once I get some spacers right here and right there. So I'm gonna pull that out right now, and let's weld it up. All right, guys, I got the mount all welded up. Decent beads on it. Threw some paint on it. So I was gonna tack weld these spacers on the back, but I mean, it really doesn't matter. So I'll just find some spacers for the two top ones and end up doing whatever I gotta do with those. But that, I mean, you just have to put it in by hand, but you could just totally put those spacers on, get them made of steel, and then weld them to this so that it's a little easier to put in. But at the same time, it might make it harder to put in, because with those on there, it's going to be trickier to get down in there. Like when I took it out right now, it literally came right out. It was super easy. So I don't even know if this is like a mount that I'm copying or anything. I don't know if the other mounts use these 3 holes or what, but I feel like this is a pretty strong mount. Like, I highly doubt this thing's gonna break. I literally, dude, the welds on there are massive, like all the way down the side. That's like a, I mean, that's like a 4, that's like, what is that? That's like 8 inches, isn't it? Yeah, that's about 8 inches. So it's like an 8-inch weld on both sides, man. That's, I mean, dude, that might almost be 10 inches, to be honest. So, all right, boys and girls, I just found this little spacer right there, and I put it in there with a washer on the aluminum side. That way it doesn't tear up the aluminum. And then, yeah, I put it in there, tightened down this bolt and that bolt, and then another day I'll find a spacer for that one. I'm not super worried about it right now. So now, I just realized I must have somehow, if you look, I got a gap here. Might be because of my adjustment on this plate. Anyways, I could probably move this plate over. Long story short, that is in. Now I'm gonna start working on finishing up this mount. So I'm gonna take and jack the motor up, and then I'm gonna finish welding that one, and then brace it up some more, and paint it, and then we'll move on to the wiring. So yeah. I forgot to have the ground strap on there, so this time we are going to try not to forget that. So let's give it a shot. Here we go. Alright, we're just gonna run it. Let's see what happens. Looks like it's working now, kind of. About to see what happens. Not ideal. Definitely not ideal. Alright, there we go. Alright, so as you guys just seen, we just cut that thing out, welded it up. So that's it, that's the piece, and that's how you guys, that's how you do it. Alright, so that's gonna do it for this video, guys. It's already been a long video, so I'm gonna go ahead and put these motor mounts on and get this car out of the shop. And then I'll catch you guys on the next video of how to K-swap your Civic for $1,000 or less. So, yeah, guys, if you guys watched this far, I appreciate you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and if you got something to say, like this is never gonna work or this is gonna be awesome, let's hear it in the comments. It's about 3 in the morning right now, and I still gotta edit this video and get it out to you guys. So, you know, I don't know, man. You just gotta get it done. So that's where we're at. And yeah, this thing's gonna be sweet. I don't know if I showed you guys. I already put that other mount in, so it's down there. It looks awesome. Oh yeah, I think I did just show you guys. So anyways, yeah, we got that mount in. So now I'm gonna paint that one tonight, get that put in, and we're gonna have motor mounts. So the motor mounts are done. I showed you guys how to take the $60, $70 eBay mounts for a K series and turn them into a K24 motor mount kit. Or if you want, you can buy $700 Hasport mounts, or you can spend $300 and you can get them from like Jack Spania. So that's your options here. Again, this is how to K-swap it for $1,000. You can pick and choose what you want to spend more money on throughout this build. If you don't have the skill to build these motor mounts, or if you think, hey, I could do that in another easier way, you know, it doesn't, I got a plasma cutter and all that. You don't have to have all that stuff, guys. If you guys went and get some 2-inch flat stock, 3-inch flat stock, you know, get a couple pieces of that, you can definitely build these motor mounts from just some flat stock. Don't let that stop you. You don't have to have all these fancy tools. A little bit of spray paint goes a long ways, guys. I mean, look at that Mac motor mount. Look at that thing. You can't even tell. Imagine if you see this thing at a car meet, you're gonna tell me that you're gonna know that that motor mount is not an actual motor mount that someone bought. Get out of here. So, anyways, guys, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Don't forget, like, comment, and subscribe. I'm out.